Good evening, guys. Welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. As always, I've got Ray with me. Ray, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm all good, mate. I'm very, very excited about this weekend because this will be the first of two previews we've got for you. But we're going to look at the undisputed lightweight title fight first between George Kambosos and Devin Haney. Now, this is an exciting fight for many reasons. And I think it's fair to say, Ray, isn't it, that the last couple of 3 or 4 years we've been talking about an undisputed fight at lightweight. I don't think anybody would have had money on these two being in there. You know, for sure you'd have had Lomachenko in there. So, I mean, break this fight down for us, Ray.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You wouldn't have had these two in the sort of final if you would like. You probably had Lomachenko in there with somebody like Tank, but nevertheless, this is what we've got. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. I think it could be a classic matchup of styles where you've got a pure boxer, Devin Haney, who's going to do everything off the jab, going to use his feet to get in range, get in out of range. He's going to use some lateral movement. And then you've got Kambosos Jr., who's going to bring the pressure, he's going to bring the speed, he's going to bring infighting, and he's going to bring that little bit of power. Traditionally, your infighter, your pressure infighter, beats the boxer because the boxer hasn't got the power to keep the pressure fighter off. So the pressure fighter lands more punches by coming on the inside and swarming effectively, out-swarming the boxer. And I think this fight could go down that way. I think Kambosos is going to have the speed advantage. I think Kambosos is a lot quicker than what people perceive. Although people talk about Devin Haney's jab, the key for victory for him is that it's going to have to really be on point. It's going to have to be purposeful. It's going to have to be strong. He's going to have to really pump it out. He can't just use it as a range finder. He's going to have to use it as a deterrent. And I'm not too sure Devin Haney's got the stamina and the strength to cope with the physicality of what is going to be coming at him from Kambosos. I think Kambosos is really good on the inside, and what that particular fight against Linares told me, particularly I think it was round 9, maybe round 10, is when Haney's tested on the inside, he really can get wobbled and hurt. And Kambosos is a better puncher than Linares, in my opinion. So I think for me, I'm leaning towards Kambosos in this fight, but it's going to be a real close tactical affair.
See, I'd agree. I mean, I just want to say, I've got, Devin Haney, still only 23 years old. And, only last week we're talking about Tank, being 27 and when's he going to make that step up. Devin Haney at 23 is fighting for an undisputed title. And let's not forget, he fought his way to be Lomachenko's mandatory before Lomachenko was elevated to franchise by the WBC. Yeah. So for those sorts of reasons, I'm a massive, massive Devin Haney fan. As you say, he is a slick boxer, and I think, I'm picking him for this weekend. I just think he's too slick, and as tenacious as Kambosos is, he's still got to find success. So I am picking Haney, but I will say the worry for me is that obviously we've not talked yet about this is in Australia, so it's in Kambosos' home country. Haney, in fairness to him, has not been able to have his dad over there with him. Big part of his corner, obviously.
Yeah, Bill Haney, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And also, it's a new promoter for him. He's had to obviously left DAZN and Eddie Hearn temporarily, possibly signed with Top Rank and Bob Arum for this and the rematch, a 2-fight deal.
Which will also be in Australia.
Exactly. And I think, whatever happens this weekend, we have got to respect Devin Haney because we just don't see fighters taking these sort of risks. And to back himself to this level, for me, it's hugely impressive, isn't it, Ray?
It is when you take all that you said into context. At the end of the day, he's got to do it in the ring. That's what it's judged. He could have easily fought and whinged to have it over stateside, but he's gone to his opponent's backyard. In my opinion, rightly so, because Kambosos holds all the belts. But I think the big thing to look at is he's gone there without the tutelage of his dad. Will that affect him? I'm not too sure. I mean, there's been fights where he's predominantly had his camp led by Ben Davison, who we all know trained Josh Taylor, and he's had great success with Tyson Fury before Tyson Fury switched coaches, and so on and so forth. And we know Ben Davison's a good student of the game, but what we also know is that Bill Haney's still always been in that corner. And so this is really the first time where he won't actually be there. But if the preparation's done in camp, he shouldn't have to make too much adjustments mid-fight. But this will be a good fight for him to see how well his ring IQ has been brought on, because Kambosos is going to be a very different style to what he's been accustomed to. Although you can argue he had a good pressure fighter in Jojo Diaz, I feel Kambosos Jr. is on a different level to Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz, you should really be beaten to be getting world titles, which he did do. And he got past the test of Linares, but I felt as though Linares was a bit past his best. But full credit to Haney. He's really embracing the challenge, and he's going in there and he's very, very confident. He still has a good team around him, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. But I just think that this potentially may be a tough ask. But it's interesting, though, because usually I go for the boxer, you go for the pressure fighter or the puncher. So it's really interesting to see how there's been more reversal for this particular fight, aren't there?
No, it is. I mean, I've got two concerns. I think, firstly, for me, I think it goes the distance either way. But my worry is that Haney, if he has a bit of a slow start, and then, this is easily a fight where the noise in the stadium could affect Kambosos' work rate, could affect the judges. He could nick the odd round. And I think we could be looking at a situation where if it's even 2 or 3 rounds in it for Haney, I think we could be talking about it being a Kambosos point to win. That's my worry. And the other worry is the fact that it's pretty well documented that particularly Haney's big for a lightweight. It's his first weight class we've seen him in. And now he's getting to 23, he's ticking into his mid-20s. Can he make the lightweight limit easily? As we said with Linares, he got rocked there. And I agree with you. I think as great a champion as Linares is, he is somewhat past his best. And I thought Haney would have come through that better, if that makes sense. I mean, do you think the weight will be an impact?
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. We were expecting him to come through the Linares challenge relatively unscathed, weren't we? But he was rocked, and that's what people were talking about at the end of the fight. They weren't talking about some of those rounds were masterclasses. Let's be honest, and not many. There's not many that you can say that who have been in the ring with Jorge Linares. I mean, Kevin Mitchell's been in the ring with him. Camel's been with him. He's pretty much been in with anyone. And Lomachenko's been with him as well. So, and there's some really impressive work by Devin Haney in some of that part of that fight. But when I've seen him on the scales, he's not struck me as a fighter that's struggling. I mean, I would talk about he's quite young and he is a big guy. But then again, so is Ryan Garcia. George Kambosos is quite small for a lightweight, but Teofimo Lopez is the biggest out of a lot of them. And Kambosos Jr. mixed it with him and he put down Teofimo Lopez. So I don't think he's as bad as Teofimo Lopez for me in the weight. But one thing Kambosos Jr. proved to me is that he's not physically intimidating in the ring. He's not bullied about. People say he's small, he is small, but he's not exactly weak. He wasn't thrown about like a rag doll. So if he can cope with the physicality of Teofimo Lopez, I expect him to cope with a not so physical but much bigger Devin Haney.
No, I mean, right. So we've both sort of said, but you're sticking with Kambosos.
Yeah, I'm going my guy. I mean, I like Devin Haney. I do like him. I think he's perhaps not coming as quick as what I wanted to, because despite the fact that he is only 23, and I get that he's a baby in boxing terms, he really is. He's got a lot of time to grow. He's probably got another 10, 12 years in the game. The way he fights, particularly, he's got a long career. But with 27 fights, I expect to see a little bit more progression in terms of his ring IQ.
Agreed. I do agree. I'm sticking with Haney unless it's a dodgy hometown decision. So we'll have to see what the reaction is.
See how it goes.
But we'll move on, because there's one fight that we want to look at on the undercard. And for those that don't know, Junior Farr's back. Obviously last time we saw him was February 2021. He lost to Joseph Parker, didn't he?
Yeah.
Big fight in that side of the world over in New Zealand. And he's taking on Lucas Browne. Now, for me, Lucas Browne now, he's 30-3, 26 knockouts. We know what he brings in terms of punch power, but he's 43. All 3 of his losses are stoppage losses. 2 of them quite heavily, in fairness. The Dave Allen one was a heavy body shot, but, in terms of impact to the head, he was fine. And I just feel like they're going on about, oh, he's the ex-WBA champion. Yeah, okay, he was, obviously, but he's coming in off a win. But he was only knocked out last April by Paul Gallen, who is, with the greatest of respects to Paul Gallen, he's an ex-rugby league player. I mean, Junior Farr, supposedly in the prime of his career. This fight genuinely worries me, Ray. I think we could see Lucas Browne potentially someone can get hurt here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just hoping he's got his health insurance covered because I can only see this going one way. And I say this with greatest respect to Lucas Browne. I just think that his time's up in a heavyweight game, and I don't want it to become. I don't want him to become Australia's version of our own Danny Williams, who is, what I can understand, is still fighting, and I'm sure he's approaching, or if not, in his early 50s. I don't want to see Lucas Browne go down that route, and it's fair enough taking heavy punishment from people like Dillian White and etc., but not against former rugby league players. That's not, when Lucas Browne was training under Ricky Hatton, that's not what we could foresee as a future for Lucas Browne. So it's sad, but I could see why they made the fight. They needed to beef up the undercard, and it probably will sell. Yeah, it probably will sell, and it's a big fight for the Oceania region. Junior Farr and Joseph Parker fight kind of highlighted his flaws, if you like. I'm not too sure whether he's going to win this emphatically, but I'm not too sure what that does, because Lucas Browne's that finished. I'm not too sure how that enhances Junior. So, yeah, I mean, that's my views. How about yourself?
I think for Junior Farr, it's name value to come back after, 15, 16 months out the ring. It does nothing for him. And like I say, I mean, I follow Lucas Browne on social media, and I like a lot of stuff of what he points out. He's a bit of a throwback, none of this sort of 2022 PC stuff. And I've got time for that. And he does talk on there about he wants a couple more paydays and stuff, obviously, for his family. And I get that. But I just think there's got to be an educated risk, because, if he wins by some miraculous miracle, because he's always got that puncher's chance with that power, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
Where does he go? It's not like it's, I think this is for the IBF Oceania title, but, it's not going to put him into the world picture, is it? I just think there's, other than a payday, there's not really anything to gain for Lucas Browne, because it's only delaying a beating if he does win, because he'll go in with someone else who then will beat him up. And
without a doubt. And this is the thing about the heavyweights now. Although it's not as you've got your top three, your top four if you want to include Wilder. Now he's back, because I still think Wilder beats a lot of the heavyweights out there. You've got a bit of a problem because there's a massive gap, and then you've got the emerging talent. You've got like people like Big Baby Jared Anderson. You've got Joe Joyce. You've got Fraser Clark. Yeah, exactly. Hrgovic, as you've said. And you've got the guy that won gold at the Olympics from Eastern Europe.
yes.
In fact, you've got a couple of you've got one Uzbeki and one Kazakhstani. And then so he can't go down those routes because they're red hot prospects that people, may not be too familiar with them now, but give it 2-3 years, they're going to be household names. He doesn't want any of that smoke. And even people like Alan Babbage would absolutely wipe the floor with Lucas Browne now, when he's pretty much, in my opinion, a cruiserweight. So, yeah, for me, there's no obvious answer. I mean, the win, and then what, if either one of them won, what's next for them? If either one of them lost, what's next for them? So it's, although the fight makes sense to sell the card for Kambosos, it doesn't make sense for their careers really, apart from getting paid.
No, I agree. I mean, if by some miracle you are seeing this Lucas Browne, it's all respect, but please just hang them up. So, I mean, we'll wrap this one up there, guys. Let us know in the comments what you guys think is going to happen on these fights on the weekend. Who are you picking? I am just going to point out again, you might want to side with me because I am actually beating Ray this year on predictions. I can't remember the exact score, but I'm enjoying the win.
I know I'm down by a lot though.
Yeah, so you might want to just pick with me. Just go against Ray. But yeah, join us on the next one, guys.